are you?
I'm good, thanks. How you doing?
Good, thank you. You look so beautiful.
Thank you. I got all done up for Power Queen.
How has your day been?
The day's been quite busy, with work, and I'm also like doing some courses in between. So yeah, and obviously getting ready for our session tonight, yeah, which has been quite exciting. So yeah, it's been quite
That is
a
that is
day.
cool. That is so. What course are you doing, by the way, if you don't mind me asking?
So I'm doing a digital marketing course.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
I'm like in the digital space now, so just kind of, broadening my knowledge
Yeah,
in that area. And yeah, how has your
that is
day
awesome. That's really awesome. That's really awesome. And still working at the same time, and you're doing the side hustle, and it's just like, oh my God,
been? Yes, yes.
that
And
is
how's
so dope.
your day been?
From my side, everything has been okay. It's just been a little bit chaotic on my side because I'm still working 9 to 5,
Mm,
and I'm obviously trying to move back home to Joburg, as you know.
yes.
So that's been kind of interesting because of Corona and all of that. But I'm
Yeah.
really trying my best to just keep things together and just keep going.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm also like trying to reestablish myself and Power Queen. So that's also a bit of a challenge, but
Yeah.
it's a challenge that I'm willing to take on, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So
but
I'm
I'm glad to see Power Queens is back.
thank you so much. Like, it's been a long time coming. Like, because
Mm,
the thing with me is I tend to procrastinate a lot because I always want to have things done perfectly, and that's one of my
yeah.
flaws. It's a good thing and a bad thing.
Mm,
But I'm trying my best to just get started, and which I have, but I'm trying my best to also not always want to deliver things in like perfection and
mm.
in the way that I want them delivered in all the time. Because I know
Yeah.
that sometimes the aim is just start,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Because that's what actually takes up so much of our time, where you're
Yes,
trying to perfect something for so long that you actually end up
right?
not doing it, which, then defeats the purpose.
Exactly,
Mm,
exactly.
mm.
It's so great to chat to you again. It's so good to see you again. Last time I saw you was like what, last year when we were doing Power Queen season 1. I
Was it
mean,
last year? Was it not even the year
yeah,
before? For me, it actually feels like so much longer. Was it not 2018?
I, you know what? You actually could be right. It might have been 2018 when we did the season 1 of Power Queens.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And yeah, so it's actually been quite a long time. So thank you so much for taking out the time to, talk to me again. And yeah, I'm really excited. So let's get
Yeah.
going.
Okay. Let's get right into it. And hello to everyone who's just joined us.
Yes, shout out to everyone that has joined us. Thank you so much for taking out your precious time on a Thursday evening to chat with us, to engage with us. We really love you and we really appreciate you. So thanks so much, guys, for joining this conversation. So Boipelo, let's start off with where you grew up and how was your upbringing? Because I just think it's so important for people that don't know you to
Mm,
get an insight of who you really are. So
yeah.
yeah, take us through.
Cool. So I was born and raised in Johannesburg in Alexandra, the vibrant township of Alex. And I was raised by two amazing parents. I love to talk about my parents a lot because they've really been a big part of who I am, and just looking at how they navigated their own challenges to make sure that I have everything I needed to be a success in this world. It's,
Yeah,
I cannot go without talking about them. And thanks
absolutely.
to them, I had quite a good upbringing. I can't say there isn't a lot of negative or bad stories I can talk about from my childhood. What I do remember is just being supported and loved. And, even though the world was showing me otherwise, at home, I had a lot of love and support. And I think that's played a huge, huge role in, the person that I am today.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically my background. And my parents and I have been through a lot. When I talk about like the journey of my family, it always starts with them, and just where we are now.
Yes.
There was a lot of moments that we lived through you know, in lack and not being able to afford certain things, but they made
Yes.
sure that they supported me with what they could and what they had, even if in that moment it was just love or just support
Yes.
or just telling me that, you know, I can do this and would be okay.
Yes, and I think that's just so incredible because for me, I feel like you're just so fortunate to have grown up in that kind of environment, having those types of parents that
Yeah.
supported you through everything that you wanted to do. You were not judged, you were not told you can't do this and you can't do that. You were literally given the love and the support that every child deserves, you know?
Yeah. No,
That's
definitely.
amazing. And what were like some of the things you were interested in as the young Boipelo growing up, and why were you captivated by those kind of things when you were young growing up?
Yeah. So even though I was a very quiet and shy child, I was very creative and very imaginative. You know, I created my own worlds. And even though I was alone and would play alone, like in that brain of mine, in that little space of mine that I would create for myself, like there was a lot going on. You
Yeah,
know, I loved going through my mom's magazines at the time, and I would imagine myself being this certain person. And it's so crazy, but from a young age, I had a picture of what I would look like at this age.
yeah,
So even though it's like very different from a physical point of view, um, the elements about this person that I had created as a young child are very much true right now. You know, I always saw myself as this woman who, you know, was independent. I saw myself as
yes,
someone who would, you know, be able to talk to other women and inspire other women. And, you know, it's so amazing that those ideas of yourself start and come from when you are young. But at that point, all you have are the references that are around you, right? So I had the magazines, the TV shows, my mother, and just looking at her and, you know, from the way she dressed. I remember, I mean, in
yes.
the township, it was like quite a big thing for like young girls to sit in the street corner and wait for like a woman to walk by. So would wait like at a certain time to wait for the woman who would be like going to work or coming back from work. So we'd sit
Wow.
to watch them and basically be like, oh, I'm her, or like, oh no, I'm her, you know. And that was just us being kids, but trying to kind of imagine the kind of life in the future that we wanted for ourselves in the
Yes,
surroundings that we saw. And you know, as
yes.
much as that is positive as well, there were also negative references that, you know, you grew up seeing in the township that make you think twice or make you think about
Mm,
what kind of life can you actually get from this or lead from this experience of growing up
mm,
in a place like Alex. So
mm. And it's so crazy how what you just described are two ironic things. You know, there were positives and there were negatives. And I think a lot of South Africans, especially South Africans who have never visited the townships or never had people in their families that come from the townships, we just have this perception that everything that goes down in the township is negative, which is completely
yeah,
false. You know, it is
yes,
completely false. And I feel like
yeah,
we've given the narrative away for other people and other cultures to tell it for us when we have amazing people like yourselves that can explain the narrative and be part of it and tell the story for yourself. And this is
yes,
exactly why, like, I wanted you to come on the show, on the series to explain your story and share your story, because I feel like there's so much going on that people have no idea about. So thank you
yes,
so much for sharing that, you know. Um, so let's get right into exactly what this is about, right? Your unique power story or stories. You might have experienced certain things in your life growing
yeah.
up or through adulthood that you think that people need to hear and know about you. So what would you say is your unique power story or stories that you think people
Yeah.
need to know about?
Yeah. So I mean, there's a couple, and you know, a lot of them come from my childhood and into, you know, my teen years. And you know, the one that I speak about a lot because it was such a huge turning point for me
Yeah.
is, and I'll take it way back, was when I was around 6 years old, and you know, my parents were just going through a very difficult time financially, and we
Okay.
didn't have a place to stay.
Mm.
And I remember would be moving around from place to place, from house to house, living with different
Mm.
family members and that kind of thing. And eventually for me as a child, it became quite normal that, you know, we moved around and I would have to make new friends or go to a new school. And I remember a particular time we moved to this place and my dad started building the structure. So, you know, being a child then and, you know, loving to play with my dolls and playing house, I thought my dad was actually building a structure for me to play in.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, for the longest time, you know, while this was happening, I was like, wow, my dad just built me my own playhouse. And then I went to go invite my friends to be like, hey guys, please come through and come and play with me in my new playhouse. It's life size and we can, you know, bring your teapots, your dolls and everything. And when my friends eventually came and, you know, here's the finished structure, they all burst out laughing. And in that moment, I obviously didn't understand that that
Yeah.
wasn't my playhouse, but it was actually the house my parents and I were going to live in. But it was so
Really?
simple and so animated that, you know, I thought to myself that this must be a playhouse. There's no way you're going to be living in this small tin roof
Yeah.
house. But in that moment, that was, you know, how I kind of made sense of the situation. And my mother says I actually lived with them, well, lived in that house, or we lived there thinking that they were actually staying with me, and it was a whole big game this whole time. So it actually took me a
Sure.
long time to register the fact that this was actually the house that my mom and dad owned, and this is where we lived. You know, I just thought it was a whole big game because to me, I just was not making sense of this fact that we were living in such a small tin house that I saw my father build with all these weird materials. And, you know, so that was really major for me growing up because I realized how that moment could have broken down my confidence, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just understanding that these kids were actually laughing at something that I had no control over whatsoever at that point. And, you know,
Mm.
fun of the fact that, you know, I was living in a tin house, like, you know, that could have destroyed me. But because of the perspective that I had, that no, this is actually my playhouse and you guys are stupid for laughing at me. Um,
Yes.
you know, it helped me to kind of get through a very hard situation at a young age.
Yeah.
Um, and now into now moving into a new school, my parents raised me speaking Setswana. So English was never something that was, you know, factored in the early years of my life. And it's
Yeah.
something that I learned at school for school. So I
Okay.
remember the new school that I joined, the kids were making fun of the fact that I couldn't speak English. And one particular line that I do remember that stuck with me for a long time was this one girl who I thought was my friend say to
Sure.
me, oh, my English is better than yours because I live in a better house than yours. And in that moment, I began to kind of pick up all the things in my life that were worse off than other people's, you know. So I went back home that day thinking, wow, this girl said her English is better than mine. And it is. And she comes from a better home than mine. And her dad drives a better car than my dad. And she's got a better school bag. And I think this is just something we tend to do even in our adulthood, where we begin
We
to,
do.
you know, compare ourselves, you know, whether it's consciously or not, where you
And
start thinking,
we actually class people based on
exactly.
those kind of things.
Exactly, where you start to begin to think, oh no, she's got a better hair than me, she's got a better, you know, this than me, or and that kind of thing. But the main fact, or what remains, or what I got to realize in my journey, is that there will always be something that is better than yours. There will
Of
always be
course.
something that is, you know, there will always be someone who's better than you in one respect or the other. But the point
Yes.
is not about, it's not about who is better or what is better. But the fact is,
Yes.
what is good about you? You know, what are
Yes.
you in your own journey, in your own life experience, taking forward, and, you know, not allowing anyone to take away from you. Because as much as you can look at another person, another woman, another, you know, person's career and think, wow, that person is so much better than me, you don't know the full picture. You don't know the rest of it. Yes, you know, we are living in a time where digital is huge and social media is big, And what's great about social media is that everyone can present what they want to present. You know, as much as you
Yes.
can go onto my page and look at all these amazing things that I'm doing or that I have, it's not giving you the full picture of what's happening in the background. And I
Yeah,
think
and
that
who you
needs to
are
be
as a person.
exactly, exactly. So those are the things we need to be cognizant of. And something that I learned early on in my journey to understand, because my dad's response to that when I started questioning my parents about, well, Dad, why don't you drive a normal car? Why are you driving this
Mm,
raggedy old taxi? Why do we
mm,
live in a place like this? Why can't I have that? He said to me, okay, Boipelo, the truth is, yes, maybe that girl's background from a financial point of view is better than yours. But the fact is, you guys are going to the same school. You are learning from the same
exactly.
teacher in the same class. So you need to focus on that because your mother and I, this is what we can give you. Now the rest is up to you to figure out, you know, what goes. And you know, that moment a light bulb came up where
Yeah,
you know I began to see and realize that, oh my word, this is actually how life is. The
true.
world and people don't care about where you're coming from. Whether you ate last night doesn't, you know, doesn't make you any less or any better in the test that you have to write tomorrow or the exam that you have to face tomorrow, right? But what you have to do as a person is that instead of looking at the things that you don't have and what you're lacking, look at what you do. And you know,
Mm-hmm.
from a general perspective, from a South African perspective, we all come from different backgrounds and we know the struggle of most South Africans, especially in this country. But the
Yes.
fact is, we are all in a country where all these opportunities are there for us to take advantage of. And it's a choice to choose, you know, what you see and what you're going to go after. The fact that
100%.
yeah, with my background and my upbringing and growing up in a township like Alex and seeing all the things that I saw and experiencing the things that I saw, I had a choice and I made
Mm-hmm.
my choice. And my choice
Mm-hmm.
was I'm not going down that same path that I see my sisters going through. That as much as, yes, you know, we don't have a number of things that I need to push me forward, but there are
Yes.
other things. There are resources and libraries and people around in the community who are doing good work that I can connect with to help me push myself forward.
I absolutely applaud you for sticking to what you believe in yourself, and for pursuing your dreams. You didn't allow your circumstances to determine your future and determine, you know, your destiny. You knew what you wanted from life, and you just told yourself, you know what, regardless of where I come from, I'm gonna do me, and I'm gonna pursue doing me. You know, so that's awesome. That's amazing, and that's powerful in its own. Honestly, um, another thing I wanted to ask you is, as a young Black female, currently in your adulthood, and you being in business, and you being a brand, and you being a person who has a stable career now, what has been the most significant barrier that you've experienced in your current career, if there is any?
Yeah. You actually said it in your question as you're phrasing it: being young, being Black, being a
Yeah.
woman. Those three things together have probably been, you know, or have exposed me to the craziest challenges in my personal career, right?
Yeah.
Being comes with its own stereotypes of you being less experienced. You know, what do you know? And, you know,
Mm.
elements that we can still draw on that, you know, young people just generally go through. And a young
Mm.
person in 2020 is going through a lot, you know, take away
Mm.
the pandemic that we're experiencing, but there's so many things that we need to navigate as young people in our age and our generation that many other generations before us didn't have to navigate. You know, as much as
Yes.
a lot of opportunity for us and a lot of avenues for us to execute our dreams and our goals, there's that thing comes with so many other challenges that really on a day-to-day is hard. And
Yes.
secondly, being a woman, being a Black woman, coming into a very corporate space and beginning to realize how, okay, certain things or the things that you thought were just in the movies or just in statistics and, you know, articles are actually real, and you begin to experience it in the workplace. You know, from
Yes.
bullying, from, you know, just a wide variety of things that you start to deal with. So before I can prepare for a meeting, I need to consider who's in the meeting, how I need to act so that the other person doesn't treat me differently. So it's like all these small social things that you have to navigate before you even start to do your job, which
Exactly.
take away from you. And it's like the fact that walking in there does not feel normal because there aren't faces that you recognize or faces that
Yeah.
you already, that becomes a barrier in that you first have to work towards getting the people to trust you, you know, for what you know, for your work, for what you can do and
And
deliver
sorry, just to
before.
add to that, not only
Yeah,
trust you, but respect your opinion and
100%.
respect your expertise.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, for someone like me who I came from a pageant before I started my corporate journey. So, you know, also coming with that reputation, some
Yes.
people really did appreciate it, but others not so much. The first thing that, you know, people think about is, okay, cool, what's this pretty beauty queen girl gonna tell us? You know, what do you know about the business? And, you know,
Sure.
those are things or challenges that I constantly have to you constantly have to prove yourself, and it gets exhausting because before you even
Yeah.
get your job, it's like a series of people and things you need to convince that you deserve to be here, you can do this, you know, you've got
Mm.
papers. And I think for me, that's why education, or continue to educate myself, has been such an important part of my journey, because that's the one thing that, you know, can speak for me before I
Mm.
can start to do the convincing. You know, when people start to see the papers or the qualifications or the history or your profile, you know, that's the only time people want to respect you. And that's why I've kind of, you know, driven that hard, even to young people and young women. I advise them to study as much as you can. You know, during lockdown, that's what I've been doing. Apart from working, I've been investing a lot of time and some money in short courses and online courses. And there's a lot right now that's online,
Mm.
that's free as well. You know,
Mm.
invest in that so that you can position yourself in the world in a better way, or in the way that the world understands.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? Like you, like literally taken the words out of my freaking mouth, because that's exactly what I've been like chatting with my close friends as well, to say,
Yeah.
educate yourself, enrich yourself, and grow and learn and discover more things about yourself during this time. Because if
Yeah.
not now, then when? You know.
Yeah.
So to wrap things up, I've got one more question to ask you, and then we'll just wrap it up.
Okay.
Um, what advice, okay, I'll ask you one more question. What advice do you have for young women who are pursuing a career, whether it's a 9 to 5, whether it's a business they've just recently started, or whether it's them wanting to focus on their personal brand? What
Yeah.
advice do you have for them? And also, why do you think right now it's so important for women to just go for it, chase their dreams? And why also do you think that sharing your expertise, your knowledge, your wisdom, your motivation, and your story is so important?
Yeah. Sure, that's a very loaded question. But I'll start in the beginning. So the first one, my advice to young women who are pursuing their careers, 9 to 5 or studies, is, it's actually something that I've a quote that I'm going to expand on, that I've taken from Shonda Rhimes. And she basically says, do until you find something else to do, right?
I
Just
love
do.
that.
Yes, we find ourselves spending so much time trying to find the right job, trying to find the right course to study, trying to find the right topic to write that
Yes.
essay or that book, trying to find, we're constantly on the search for the right moment, the right time, that spark. But while we're doing that, and I think that's something you actually made reference to in the beginning, that you want to
Yeah.
perfect things so much that you end up not
Yes.
doing anything. Just do. And you know, that's something that I've seen working for me, that I just throw myself at things and I start doing, and in that journey of doing, things begin to, you know, kind of clear up. You start to get perspective, you start to understand certain things about yourself. Because I'm thinking to myself, had I waited for the right career or the right moment for me to do something, or the right year for me to enter Miss South Africa, I probably wouldn't have done it. But
Mm,
you know, by
mm,
doing that leads you to the next thing. So
mm.
stop, quit trying to find the perfect moment, the perfect time, the
Yeah.
perfect mentor, the perfect job. Just do what you do now. Do use what you have and do it, and do it well. And you'll see eventually you'll get to where you need to go to. Um,
100%.
yeah, the second question, please repeat that.
So the second question was, why do you think it's so important for people to share their stories or to tell their stories?
You know, I think right now, as we speak, there are probably like 10 other live sessions that are happening, right? But what makes each and every one of them different are the people and the stories behind, you know, those people. The fact
Yeah,
that we're sharing our stories, that's what makes us, that's essentially what actually makes us special and makes us different. That we could
yeah,
all, you know, have similar backgrounds and similar things, but our experiences and what we bring to the table based on
that's
what we have
different.
to say is different, right?
Yeah,
You actually have siblings raised under the same home, raised by the same people, but their experience of how growing up could be completely different. And that's
mm,
essentially what makes us special and makes us unique. And, you know,
mm,
that is something that I encourage, that share your story. Over
mm,
time, over the years, I've learned to embrace my story, not because it's beautiful or that it's perfect, but because I've realized that that's what makes me me at my core.
mm,
You know, the fact that I went through all those things that I went through, and I had to navigate all those things that I had to navigate to get to where I am, that's what makes Boipelo today and the person that she is
yeah,
today, that other people can see and appreciate. And when you talk to people or follow people, you're not following only what they post, you're following the story, you're following the journey and what is behind that person, because that's what everyone can relate to, because we all have stories
have a
to share.
story. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Pipino. Thank you so much for chatting with me. Thank you so much for sharing your story, your truth, your power. Thank you to everyone that joined the conversation and listened to what you had to say. I hope everyone
Yes,
was inspired by what you had to say and learned a lot
I
about you. I
hope
certainly did. And thank you so much. We see everyone that joined the conversation. We love you. We thank you. We appreciate you. And
thank you,
take
Angie.
care. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much, Angie.
This
Thank
has
you,
been
Angie.
awesome.
Yeah, no, this has been so great, and you know, I hope that you will continue with this Power Queens movement. It's very important. We need it in our time, and yeah, just keep going. I'm very encouraged by the work that you are doing as well to enrich young women's lives.
Thank you so much, and I'm enriched by you as well, and I'm so motivated. You motivate me and you inspire me. And like I said to you earlier before today when we spoke, I really genuinely do respect you and I appreciate you. So thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. I will. I will. You too.
Okay, bye.
Everyone. Bye, everyone.
Bye.